In a modest cafe, under a pouring rain, Lucas, a 26-year-old young waiter, juggled the demands of his life. A part-time law student, he balanced shifts at the cafe with evenings spent giving private lessons to support his sick mother and younger sister, Mia. That morning, an elderly woman entered, her silver hair neatly pulled back, her coat soaked from the rain. She approached the counter, her voice soft yet assured. "I'm sorry, I forgot my wallet. Can I pay next time?" Lucas, without hesitation, replied with a smile. "It's all right, ma'am. The coffee is on me today." Surprised, the woman tried to protest, but the sincerity in Lucas's eyes silenced her. She accepted, sitting by the window with her steaming cup. Lucas discreetly added a small almond pastry next to her coffee, without explanation, without expectation. The woman, Evelyn Harper, observed the world through the glass, an almost timeless calm emanating from her. Lucas had no idea he had just served a discreet billionaire, a philanthropist who had chosen anonymity to escape prying eyes. Evelyn, without heirs or family, had been searching for years for someone trustworthy, someone capable of seeing beyond her wealth. That morning, in this ordinary cafe, she found something unexpected. A young man who offered kindness without expecting anything in return. As she left the cafe, she gave him a solemn nod, almost a salute, before disappearing into the rain. Lucas returned to his tasks, unaware that he had just planted a seed that would change his life. The rain continued to pour outside, creating a serene yet melancholic atmosphere in the cafe. Lucas's life, intertwined with the rain and the cafe, held a promise of change and hope. Lucas had never sought to be a hero. At 19, after the sudden death of his father from a stroke, he had taken on the role of breadwinner. His dreams of attending university full-time had evaporated, replaced by evening classes, shifts at the cafe, and late-night deliveries. His mother, Teresa, suffered from heart disease exacerbated by grief, and Mia, his sister, continued her studies thanks to a partial scholarship. Their apartment was modest, always clean, but marked by wear and tear. Lucas slept on the couch to give the bedroom to Mia, while his mother's medication bottles lined up like soldiers on his nightstand. Every day was a race against time, punctuated by exhaustion and coffee. Lucas never complained. He smiled when Mia got a good grade, marveled when his mother climbed a flight of stairs without stopping. Love, for him, was a luxury he had relegated to the background. Romantic relationships crumbled under the weight of his schedule, canceled plans, unanswered messages, calls interrupted by fatigue. One day, 2 days after serving Evelyn, a man entered the cafe, his coat torn, his shoes patched. The manager brusquely pushed him away. "This isn't a shelter." Lucas, hungry himself, stepped outside and offered the man his last sandwich. "You don't look like you have too many, kid," the man said. Lucas shrugged. "I'll eat later." This spontaneous generosity, this refusal to look away, defined Lucas. He wasn't trying to change the world, but to do what seemed right. A few days later, Evelyn reappeared at the cafe, dressed in a navy blue suit, her aura elegant and confident. She approached Lucas, who was cleaning a table, and pronounced his name with disconcerting familiarity. "Lucas, would you accept to have dinner with me tonight?" Taken aback, he agreed, driven by curiosity. The restaurant was a world apart, with imposing wine glasses and a subdued atmosphere. Evelyn, sitting across from him, got straight to the point. "My name is Evelyn Harper. I come from an old fortune, but I have built my own through discreet investments. I own 4 companies, sit on 2 hospital boards, and I have no heirs." Lucas, uncomfortable, listened in silence. Then came the proposal. "I offer you marriage, not for love, but for a partnership. I will pay your debts, your mother's medical expenses, your sister's education. In exchange, you will be my husband, in respect and honesty. Lucas nearly choked. "This is insane, you don't know me." Evelyn smiled. "I know enough. You are someone who helps without calculating." He left the restaurant, his mind in turmoil. The idea seemed absurd, almost immoral. Yet that night, his mother coughed violently, blood staining her handkerchief. Medical bills piled up, and Lucas, facing a forgotten glass of water, found himself weighing a decision that went beyond morality, a choice for the survival of those he loved. Lucas's decision was made on a cold night after yet another crisis with his mother. The medications cost more than his meager savings, and he had to buy them on credit. Accepting Evelyn's offer meant security for his family. The wedding was simple, almost clinical, in an office downtown. No vows, no guests, just signatures on paper. Lucas wore a suit sent by Evelyn, uncomfortable in its perfection. She, in a cream blazer, appeared impassive. After the ceremony, she murmured, "You have given me a home, a real one." Lucas nodded, uncertain. They moved into Evelyn's mansion, an imposing residence with walls covered in ivy. Lucas settled into a west-facing room, overlooking a pond and a library filled with rare legal texts. Every evening, they dined together at 7 p.m. in comfortable silence. Evelyn showed interest in his studies, and Lucas shared his frustrations and legal theories. She spoke of her late husband, Henry, a passionate lawyer, with a restraint tinged with respect. Their relationship was not intimate, but a mutual curiosity began to grow, punctuated by shared laughter. Lucas repaired the creaking doors, brewed tea for Evelyn's migraines, and made sure fresh flowers adorned the hallway every Sunday. Slowly, he began to see Evelyn not as a wealthy woman, but as a person carrying quiet sorrow and quiet strength. As the months went by, a subtle transformation took place. The silences between Lucas and Evelyn became rich, filled with unspoken understanding. Dinners stretched into late-night teas, conversations turned into personal stories. One rainy afternoon, Evelyn invited Lucas into the solarium, surrounded by orchids and antique chairs. She spoke of her husband, Henry, who had died in a car accident 12 years earlier, and of the loss of their baby at 6 months of pregnancy. "After that, I became a machine," she confided, her eyes fixed on the rain. "I had everything but nothing." Then she looked at him. "And then, I met a young man who paid for my coffee without knowing who I was." Lucas felt his heart tighten. He began to care for her, not out of obligation, but out of desire. He made breakfast, tended to her garden, read books aloud when her migraines returned. One morning, Evelyn found a lavender plant on her nightstand, accompanied by a note. "For peace. The same one you gave me." Their bond wove itself in the details: chess games, shared silences, the way they cooked together. It wasn't a burning passion, but a gentle complicity, born of respect and presence. Lucas no longer saw their arrangement as a contract, but as an alliance, a mutual promise to see each other as they were. One night, as the rain lashed against the windows, Lucas heard a noise in the manor. He found Evelyn slumped by her bed, struggling to breathe. Without thinking, he supported her, slipped on his sneakers, and ran through the rain to an open pharmacy. Soaked and breathless, he returned with an inhaler, kneeling beside her to help. When she regained her breath, she murmured, tears at her eyes, "Why did you run like that for me?" Lucas simply replied, "Because I care about you." Evelyn cried, confessing that she hadn't been surrounded like this since her husband's death. This moment marked a turning point. They began to stroll together in the garden, sometimes in silence, sometimes hand in hand. One evening, under a sky painted in purple and orange, Evelyn joked, "If I were 40 years younger, I would have fallen in love with you." Lucas smiled, as if that were impossible now. Their love, if it could be called that, was not the stuff of novels. It was a gentle light, born from understanding and shared vulnerability. Evelyn, once alone in her wealth, was rediscovering a warmth she thought lost. Lucas, used to surviving, was learning what it meant to be seen and chosen, not for what he could offer, but for who he was. Their discreet marriage did not remain so for long. Photos of the ceremony, taken without their knowledge, surfaced online. The headlines exploded. Server marries billionaire. A twisted Cinderella story. Gold digger or good deed? The age gap became a joke, their relationship a source of cruel speculation. Lucas was accused of manipulation, of opportunism. He chose silence, immersing himself in his studies to escape the noise. Evelyn, used to judgment, felt guilty for dragging him into this storm. One evening on the terrace, she whispered, "I didn't expect them to come after you. If you want to leave, I'll understand." Lucas looked at her firm. "Do you think I care about what they say?" Then, in a spontaneous gesture, he embraced her. Evelyn, surprised, relaxed against him, resting her forehead on his shoulder. "If anyone asks, I'll say I married you out of gratitude," he said softly. "And if they ask again, I'll say I fell in love with someone who saw me when no one else did." They kissed, a gentle kiss, without grandiosity, but filled with a deep truth. This moment sealed their bond, not as a contract, but as a mutual choice, defying the outside world. The following year was marked by a gentle routine. Evelyn and Lucas shared dinners, walks, and silences rich with meaning. But Evelyn was weakening. Her steps slowed, her breathing became labored. Lucas adapted, bringing her meals to her bedside, adjusting her pillows. One day, her lawyer handed him a will. Evelyn bequeathed everything to him, the mansion, the investments, her empire. Lucas refused. "What we have is the true gift. I want to live by my own hands, just as you did." Evelyn smiled, touched by his integrity. One night, when she was too weak to leave her bed, Lucas wrapped her in a blanket and took her to the living room. She requested an old jazz song, the one from their second walk. The music filled the room, and Evelyn rested her head on his shoulder. In the middle of the second verse, her hand relaxed. She was gone, a peaceful smile on her lips. Lucas held her hand until the end of the song, letting silence envelop him. The next day, he found a letter from Evelyn, written in her hand. "Thank you for bringing me back to life. If souls reunite, I hope to meet you in a jazz cafe in the rain." Lucas's tears flowed, not from sorrow, but from the rare grace of having loved and been loved in return. Lucas honored his promise. He refused the bulk of Evelyn's fortune, accepting only a modest sum for his mother's care and Mia's education. With the rest, he founded the Evelyn Harper Foundation, dedicated to isolated elderly people and underprivileged students. It wasn't charity, but a way to preserve dignity, just as Evelyn had done for him. He also created Evelyn House, a hospice that offered more than care, a place of music, laughter, and presence. At the inauguration, under a bright sun, Lucas spoke. "I thought love had to be loud, passionate. Evelyn taught me it could be discreet, living in a shared cup of tea, a hand held in silence." The crowd, moved, listened in silence. Some cried, others reminisced about their own loves. Lucas concluded, "She didn't need to say she loved me. She lived it every day." After the ceremony, he stopped in front of a stone in the garden, engraved with the words, "Evelyn Harper, a woman who dared to love, give, and relive." He smiled, understanding that true love was not a consuming flame, but a constant, enduring light. The story of Lucas and Evelyn transcends conventions. Their bond, born from a simple gesture, a coffee offered, transformed into a deep alliance, defying age, wealth, and judgments. Lucas, by refusing Evelyn's fortune, chose to live by his values, turning her legacy into a means to help others. Evelyn House became a symbol of compassion, a place where souls, even at the end, were seen and honored. Lucas continued his studies, became a lawyer, and carried within him Evelyn's lesson: love is not a chance occurrence, but a choice. This was not a tale of passion or fairy tales, but of two people who saw, respected, and chose each other, despite everything. Their bond reminds us that kindness, even discreet, can change lives. As Evelyn wrote, "True love is that which remains, which endures, which shines even in the shadows." This story, shared by soul-stirring stories, invites reflection on the power of a kind act, the beauty of unexpected connections, and the strength of choosing to love, day after day, in the simplest moments.